When I was little, I had a loft bed with a desk underneath. I've always been a pretty heavy sleeper. I could fall asleep at a concert. So it was strange when I began waking up at 3 in the morning every morning. What was even more strange were the noises coming from the attic. Shuffling, knocking, boxes moving. My 9-year-old brain rationalized it as an animal or bird that had gotten in. After a few weeks of shit sleep, I decided to knock back on my ceiling the shave and a haircut pattern, because I was bored and hadn't interacted with whatever was in the attic. I waited in silence for a few minutes until I was about to fall back asleep, and then I heard it. From the ceiling, a foot from my face, it knocked back the pattern. Every night when I woke up, I'd knock and sometimes get a response. It gradually stopped over the years. But I still wake up at 3 a.m. every night. It's weird. But it only happens in my room. I sleep fine in hotels and other houses. 13 years later, and I've just been getting weird vibes around my house. I feel like I'm being watched. I sometimes hear someone saying my name, most notably before bed, and whatever said it is very close to my ear. I can feel their breath as they whisper, and it freaks me out so much that it takes hours to get back to sleep. The shuffling in the attic also started up again, but I don't want to knock back anymore. There's a lot of weird shit that happens. Things get moved. My dogs and cats stare at the same blank spot. But these are just what's been currently happening. I just don't know what to do anymore.
My house is super haunted, but it's too many little instances to put into one story. I guess I'll just go with the most recent one. A few nights ago I heard running upstairs, despite being home alone. I thought it was my cat, but then he came downstairs and the running continued. I was a little spooked, but it's not the worst thing that's happened in this house. The running lasted for quite a while, plus a few knocks. The next morning I was cleaning upstairs in that room, and my cat crawled into a box of fabric. I thought he was being cute, so I said, "A wee hey," and started to pull out my phone to take a picture. While I was still reaching for my phone, I heard a mocking "a wee" right behind me. I completely froze and just let myself process it for a few seconds before checking the room. Obviously, I was still alone. That one spooked me a little.
My friend Carl's last apartment had 2 ghosts. One was a little girl who would play with your hair while you were hanging out in the living room, as well as running along the vertical blinds, making them swing back and forth. The second I never saw or heard, but I did feel him. One night, I locked myself out of my apartment. We lived in the same complex, one building over from each other. So I asked to crash Carl's place for the night while he went to work. But he had told me, don't go into his room. There is a male ghost who will tell you that you don't belong in there. His previous roommate had let several friends crash. His room and a tall black shadow opened the door and said, "Get out" to all of them. Freaked them out. So here I am on the couch in the living room, head on the end of the couch that looks down the hall to the bedrooms and bathroom. I swear I was being watched. Then it hit me. I needed to pee, and the bathroom is right across the hall from Carl's bedroom. Fantastic. So I slowly creeped down the hall, and about 5 feet from my goal, I said, "Hey man, I just need to use the bathroom." Then it felt like a cloud of energy got pulled back into the bedroom despite the door being closed. So I did my thing and hauled ass back to the couch. But I put my head on the other end of the couch. Nothing outstanding, but just a really creepy vibe. On the positive side, at least, Carl had someone looking out for him.
This sort of thing only happened to me once, but left an impression on me. I'm not sure if it was an apparition or if I dreamed it. I never told anyone the truth, as I fear I would not be believed. My father and his brother Gary were lifelong dairy farmers in central Wisconsin. We lived close by, and labor was traded during harvests. As I got older, he would send me saying, "You have to go and help at Gary's today." I grew up and took over the farm, and cousin Mike took over for his father Gary. Gary died about 15 years ago. Mike sold the dairy herd and found other employment. I rent his land. My father passed away in 2013. In 2014, I sold the dairy herd. It was an October night in Wisconsin. My cousin Mike started a fire in the wood-fired furnace in the basement and went to bed. His sister had just gotten out of a bad relationship and was living there too. She arrived home from her job at about midnight, added some wood to the furnace, and went to bed too. Transitioning over to all crops, in the fall of 2015, I was driving around the state looking at used equipment. What I told everyone is this. Passing through the nearest large town, about 25 miles away, I decided to stop and get a meal. Seeing a movie playing that I wanted to see, I stopped in to see it. Then stopped at a local bar and had a few soft drinks before returning home. passing by his place on the way home at 3 a.m. I saw flames coming from out of the chimney and smoke coming from the outside basement door. I dialed 911 and ran in yelling for them to get up. There was very little smoke in the upstairs of the house. Mike and I went downstairs and found an area about 3 feet square above the furnace on fire. We put it out with a fire extinguisher and water. The fire department arrived to put out the chimney fire. There was very little smoke damage to the house and minimal repairs, but a few more minuets, and the fire would have burned up into the kitchen. The truth is, I got home about 10:30 p.m. and went to bed, sometime a little before 3 a.m. My father, wearing his bib overalls, something he never wore after his retirement, opened my room door, turned on the light and said, "Get up, you have to go and help out at Gary's." I remember saying, in the morning. He then put on his most authoritative voice and said, "No, right now." I sat bolt upright in bed. My room door was open and the hallway light was on. I tried to brush it off as imagination, but I knew I had closed the door and turned off the lights. Knowing with the adrenaline rush and doubts I would not get back to sleep, I decided to dress and check on Mike's place. That's when I saw the fire and smoke. Like I said, I never told anyone the truth as I fear no one would have believed me. My father died in this house.
My parents bought at this point 110-year-old house about 10 years ago, and it feels everybody but me has had a paranormal experience in the house. My parents said they've seen a short, kinda chubby ginger kid appear at random spots in the house, sometimes just standing in the washer-dryer room and vanishing. Sometimes they'd see him at the top of the stairs and he'd walk towards my room, hooray, and disappear. Eventually, my parents were tired of it, so they had my grandfather, very Christian guy, come and bless the house, and the appearances stopped. My brother has talked about staying up late at night and hearing someone walk up the stairs. They're very old, so they are very squeaky. Walk to his closed door, jiggle the doorknob, original doors, so there was a quarter turn of play in the knobs, a bunch. Stop and walk back down the steps and stop. We didn't hear a door open or close, they just stopped at the bottom of the steps. My mom has also described seeing something peek out from around corners at her as she's sitting watching TV at night. She thinks it's probably just her slowly falling asleep and seeing things, but is still unsettling for her. There was a period of time where the mudroom door would kind of flex randomly like a change of air pressure. This usually happens whenever someone opens an outside door and closes it. But nobody ever was near a door, or the doors were locked. Probably just some weird phenomena caused by an old house, but still creepy. And yet here I am, who probably spent the most time up and alone in the middle of the night in that house, not seeing or hearing anything that wasn't explainable from night terrors and sleep paralysis, which I've always had, at multiple houses.
I used to live in a basement apartment when I was in grad school. The landlady lived in the main house, and while she herself was super nice and cool, her house always felt really off to me. However, she charged a reasonable amount of rent, and I was only 2 miles from school. About a week or two after I moved in, I had gone to bed and the apartment was pitch black at night. If my landlady ever wanted to speak to me, I would hear the doors above the stairs unlock and she would call out to me. One night I heard movement on the steps, but I didn't hear her unlock the doors, and it was probably 2 in the morning. She certainly didn't call me saying she needed to talk to me. I hear these heavy steps descending the stairs, but I'm so scared that I shrink further in my bed to hide. The floor begins to creak towards my door and then nothing for a few seconds. I'm not sure if it is safe to relax and go back to bed. Then I hear the doorknob start to turn. My fear makes me so scared that I pull the covers over my head to hide. I prayed the whole time under the covers. The next thing I know, it's finally morning. I stayed in that apartment for 2 years. When it was my graduation, I slept in a hotel because there was no room for my family to sleep. That night in the hotel was the first restful sleep I had in what felt like forever.